big, long humanitarian trip in Dominican Republic. Me and Ellie went through the same program and got assigned different places, and we both had a really awesome time. But now I'm back in Utah, and my nose is dry, but that's the only complaint I have. I'm happy to be back. Yeah, I've missed you all so much. While I was in the Dominican Republic, I was hit smack in the face with the reality of a language barrier. Although I knew the basics of Spanish from high school, and my kids knew the basics of English from their past teachers, there was still a lot that couldn't be communicated because of the language barrier. We found ourselves playing charades to communicate instructions most days. In fact, me and some friends got the opportunity to hike Pico Duarte, and the language barrier really hit us there. Our guide did not speak a lick of English and had a very heavy Dominican accent. So in my simple Spanish, he was impossible to understand. On our second day of this trip, he was giving us directions on which trail to take, where we were to go ahead and meet him at the peak. He pointed up and then waved to the left, so we figured we were supposed to go up and to the left. When we got to the peak, I climbed this lookout tower and watched the sunrise, and the sun had fully risen by the time anybody had caught up to us. I was eating my peanut butter and having a good time on top of the world. And then our guide finally showed up on top of Pico Duarte. He was yelling something. I assumed something triumphant. I mean, we did just climb a very tall mountain. So I yelled back, "Buen dia! We're on top of Pico Duarte!" And he responded with, "No es un buen dia. Esto no es Pico." We had climbed the wrong mountain. The mountain that we actually climbed was called La Pelona, and it was pretty cool too. Added like 6 miles to our final mileage. We made it to the real deal Pico eventually, but I just felt stupid because of the language barrier. And even though we couldn't understand the exact phrases our guide was saying, we could understand that he was not loving us right at that moment, and he was not loving his job. Because behind the language barrier is a universal language that is easily understood to all, and that is love. Thomas S. Monson said, "Love is the very essence of the gospel, and Jesus Christ is our exemplar." While I worked in an Alzheimer's facility as a CNA, I found that what made a good CNA was determined by how much you loved your patients. Because perhaps the people were hard of hearing or confused, but they knew when you were acting in love. And they were more patient with you when you showed them love and concern towards their well-being. And sometimes it was hard and my love was not fully genuine, but I never regretted acting in love towards someone. A few years back, I asked some friends, if everyone on earth knew one trait perfectly, what do you think would be the most valuable and make the world an all-around better place? Some answered with honesty and integrity, because if everybody were honest, the world would be less deceiving and all-around better. Some responded with empathy, so people could understand, and some responded with gratitude, to feel appreciated. My favorite answer to this question, however, was love. And love, because with love, you are honest, you are empathetic, you are grateful, and you are full of light, Christ's light. There's a scripture in Ephesians 5 that reads, "And walk in love, as Christ also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling savor." I am very lucky with all the loving people in my life. They are such examples to me. My favorite acts of love are surprise notes of gratitude that I notice while I'm getting ready in the morning. I love hugs. Sorry. My best friend often gives me surprise hugs that most time I don't know that I need until I'm stuck in a warm embrace. I think my favorite act of love recently was in the DR with my students. On our last day of school, our students had gotten all dressed up and thrown us a surprise party. They did the most in the simplest way. They were waiting for us at the corner, Comada, right at 4:15. They told us to close our eyes and they guided us to their house. When they got there, they went and hid and surprised us with noisemakers and balloons when we opened our eyes. C.S. Lewis said that love is not an affectionate feeling, but a steady wish for the loved person's ultimate good as far as they can be obtained. On our last day with our students, we were celebrating new beginnings, and not the bitter end of leaving. Everyone's heart was full, and we were excited for our students' bright future that they had ahead of them, and they were excited for us to go back and continue with our plans. I love to act in love. Make sure that the people around you know that they are loved, and not just through your words, but through your actions. Did you know that negative actions affect you 5 times as much as positive ones? Negative occurrences stay with you 5 times as long, and it takes 5 equally positive actions to counterbalance a negative one. Satan already has the upper hand. It sucks, but it's psychology. We're naturally negative. So, whatever action you take, ask yourself again, am I doing this with love? Because the gospel is not spread through unrighteous judgment, mistaken for doing the right thing. It saddens me to hear about all the cases of people who fall away from the church because of the members inside who do not act in love. And you may be looking at yourself right now thinking you're doing all right, but I challenge you to do one step better. Do one more random act of kindness for someone. Follow promptings. A good friend has recently reminded me to never suppress a generous thought. If you are unsure whether something is a prompting or your own thoughts, remember that that which is of God inviteth and enticeth to do good continually. Wherefore, everything which inviteth and enticeth to do good and to love God and to serve Him is inspired of God. Never suppress a generous thought. Acting upon thoughts and impressions to help a friend never goes unnoticed. Following promptings leads us to reach out to others, and through our light we can bring the light of Christ into others. I decided to serve a mission because I have a very strong testimony of love. I know that love softens hearts. One of my favorite residents of the Alzheimer's facility never missed an opportunity to tell you that she loved you. I challenge you to be vulnerable. Sometimes letting people know that you care can be awkward, but the most growth comes from discomfort. Seek discomfort. I know that the Lord is there to help us when we are striving to do good, and I desire nothing more than the Lord's presence in my life. While I was in the Dominican Republic, I will admit I was quite uncomfortable at times. I was uncomfortable not having a paycheck, and I was uncomfortable being so far from home and living with strangers. But through that, I grew close to the Lord. And I anticipate the same discomfort in Mexico. I know that the Lord answers prayers. Turn to Him in every thought. He's there. He is listening. He loves you. And I want to act as an instrument in the Lord's hands to bring love to people in every corner of the world. Doctrine and Covenants 111:2 reads, I have much treasure in this city for you for the benefit of Zion, and many people in this city whom I will gather out in due time for the benefit of Zion through your instrumentality. I hope that I can be a light to the people in Aguascalientes, Mexico, and I am beyond excited to serve and preach and love in the Spanish language. I love you all so much, and I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Faye and Paige. You guys both are going to be amazing